Have you ever taken the time to sit and think how amazing it is to miss someone who is hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles away? Someone you don't get to see every day, maybe via FaceTime, but being physically away can feel daunting at times. Someone can live in another city or state, another country, another time zone, and somehow they can still feel like the closest person and even best relationship in your life. Distance is funny like that. And it can make someone feel so far away, yet surprisingly close. And we've all heard the phrase out of sight, out of mind. I don't believe that's always the case. Sometimes distance does make the heart grow fonder. It creates this unspeakable closeness that is kept alive by the memories made, from the laughs at the corny jokes to those deep conversations about life, to the rare vulnerable moments we never dreamed to share with anyone else. That's right. Today we're talking about what it takes to maintain long distance relationships, friendships, basically anything that that's far away. So yeah, welcome to the Mandalore podcast. I am your host Laura and this is episode 39. So let's get into it. Whether it's your best friend who moved far away because of a new job, or your sibling who lives across the country that you only get to see during the holidays. Or maybe it's your partner or significant other who is probably always traveling for work. Chances are that if someone came to mind, they mean something to you, and you probably wish they were around more often. So how do we keep love alive? Whether it's platonic or romantic, when geography gets in the way. The beautiful thing is that distance itself isn't the biggest threat to a relationship. It's actually feeling disconnected. Before we dig into it, let me share some stats that I found there's a website called Connected Couples, and I was trying to find some stats, and I found these quite interesting. And it is based on statistics about long-distance relationships in 2026. And it said that 14 million people are actually in long-distance relationships. Can you believe that? Yeah, I found that considerably high. I didn't think it was that high, but that's super interesting. And out of those, 58% are successful in the long run. The average relationship tends to last about 2.9 years in that long distance phase. So imagine that, 2.9 years before they actually decide whether or not they're going to move in together. Maybe somebody moves to their state or that city. 2.9 years of constant, probably back and forth traveling, all those FaceTimes. We don't actually get to spend physical time together. And the other thing is, there's actually a higher level of intimacy reported by long-distance couples when compared to those who do live closer. A study published by the Journal of Communication in 2013 actually found and supports the notion that couples in long-distance relationships often experience higher levels of intimacy, more meaningful communication, and deeper levels of trust than their geographically close counterparts. Can you believe that? So you may be wondering why that is. And so I'm going to share a few reasons as to why these couples or even friendships share higher levels of closeness. And the first one is, which may be surprising, is that most people assume that successful long-distance relationships require a lot of talking. They always say that you have to talk every waking moment, 24/7. You need to be on each other's faces at every hour, all day, every day. But the opposite is actually true. Studies in relationships satisfaction consistently find that the quality of communication is a stronger predictor of relationship health than the actual quantity of communication. In other words, a thoughtful 20-minute conversation where you may spend a lot of time during that time just truly listening to someone's day, talking about how they felt, things that were meaningful to them and how they're feeling may strengthen a relationship more than actually sending 15 random texts throughout the day about practically nothing. all those what you're doing, meaningless. So yes, when you hear people complain about that, that is the reason. You want to have some meaningful conversations when you're talking to someone because that is how you build intimacy. And you have to find whatever communication style works for you. Just like the study says, it is invaluable to know that people like having intentional communication. And so no matter who you are, you probably prefer that at some point. So when it comes to communication, instead of asking things like, hey, how much did we talk today? We didn't talk for very long. What about instead focusing more on the actual conversation? Did we make each other feel seen or heard or understood today? Was there something that you needed to tell me that you didn't get to talk about? Those are two very different questions that lead to different results. And one of those feels like a chore, while the other feels like food for your soul. Am I right? Number 2, it's something I learned, and it's one of the strongest findings in sociology. And it's about rituals that strengthen relationships. Families have traditions that are passed down for generations. Friends have inside jokes that last a lifetime. Even couples have little routines that no one else understands. These tiny rituals become what I'd call emotional gifts. In long-distance relationships, maybe every Sunday morning, you can make time for each other and say, hey, let's drink coffee every morning and have a little chat, or maybe FaceTime while we drink coffee. Every Friday, perhaps, you can schedule a movie night where even if you live in different cities, I remember there's a tool called Teleparty. I think it's like a plugin. What do you call that? It's not a plugin. Oh my God, I forget what it's called. But the whole point is that you could find it on your browser and you can talk to each other through there and just watch, whether it's Netflix, whatever, find something that you could watch together and dedicate time and bond through that experience. For their birthday, maybe you can try sending a handwritten letter or anything that you can make yourself. I know it's easier sometimes to send flowers or to buy a gift from a store and just be done with it, but it's always those personalized gifts that make it all worthwhile. I mean, of course, I'm not going to deny a gift. I'm not going to deny a gift or two if you want to send it, but hey, you know what I mean? Sometimes both work. So I'm not going to tell you no if you send one. But anyway, something you can try is maybe trying a new recipe. You can go and say, let's create this random recipe we found online. You buy the ingredients and then make it together. You make it in your place. I make it in my place. And then you get to see how well of a cook you are or how well of a baker you are. You can talk about that experience. You can laugh through it. Maybe you burn something or I burn something. Whatever the case may be, these are things that will create stories for you to laugh about later. And then again, it's just about finding things that could help you bond and strengthen your relationship. So it's not necessarily about the activity, right? It's not the activity that matters. It's the meaning behind it. And these rituals are a special way to remind yourselves that no matter how far apart we are, this moment is still ours. Number 3 may feel counterintuitive because many people worry that growing separately means growing apart. But there's research on healthy relationships that points towards something called the self-expansion theory, which was created by psychologists Arthur and Elaine Aron. And it states that becoming close to someone increases one's motivation to take on some of their traits, which could lead to acquiring new skills, new hobbies, new perspectives. And as a result, that increases our sense of closeness to another. And in healthy relationships, you're constantly motivating each other to do and be better. That should be the goal, right? You shouldn't be going on a downward spiral. It should be going up, regardless of who you're with. So the healthiest relationships often involve two people continuing to grow individually, while at the same time remaining emotionally connected. That means celebrating when your friend gets a promotion, encouraging your partner or significant other to pursue a lifelong dream, It means cheering for each other's adventures, like running a marathon. This creates a sense of closeness because you're not impeding in each other's growth. On the contrary, you're actually witnessing your person or friend blossom alongside you. Because yes, I hope you're both doing that for each other. Because when things become one-sided, I don't even have to tell you what happens. That's when trouble begins, and then that friction hits harder than a train going 200 miles an hour. Well, that's the truth. So distance can actually become a place where independence and closeness can complement each other as long as it's reciprocal. And the healthiest relationships, they don't waste time shrinking each other's worlds. Instead, they're consistently helping each other grow and flourish. Whether it's on week 1, week 10, 20, month 6, year 1, year 10, year 30, whatever. Now, when it comes to number 4, this provides something that's wonderfully simple, and it means to never reserve phone calls, for example, only for when something dramatic happens. It is also important to share the ordinary moments that happen on a random Tuesday. Tell them about that funny looking chihuahua that you saw at the vet, or that beautiful sunset that may look like a filter. Tell them about a song that you like that you heard at the coffee shop, or the anticipation of the food you ordered that ended up tasting like prison food. So sharing these everyday experiences helps create emotional intimacy because partners and close friends continue participating in another's daily lives. And that's the beauty of it. Life isn't only about the tragic moments or the trauma dumping. It's also about building tiny moments that frame someone's world into kind of like their own little mini docuseries of silly adventures. Those little stories become an invisible thread that weaves two lives together and keeps the pulse of your relationship alive. Number 5 is important because when people think about trust, they assume it's always about loyalty. And they're not wrong. But trust is something that is built through predictability. It's about keeping your word, calling when you say you're going to call, following through, responding genuinely and with honesty, being emotionally available. Believe it or not, surprise, surprise. These are some of the traits that make you predictable. And isn't always built on grand gestures. It's built on those hundreds of moments that reassure your nervous system that yes, you can count on me. Yes, you are safe with me. Yes, I will always be here for you. And perhaps that's one of the greatest gifts that we can give to another person, reliability. In a world where people can be flaky and inconsiderate, being reliable makes you a hidden gem. Embrace it and you go far. I always think about this when I served in the military, and if you've ever served in the military or any job where you've had to be away from home, from family, friends for long periods of time, you know how difficult it is to maintain a bond between you and another person. And oftentimes, even now, it's second nature for people who have that experience or who have had that experience to never think twice about flying somewhere or taking a train or taking a drive to go see someone that they care about. You never give it a second thought to think of ways to shorten the distance between you and another person when you've gone through that experience. I remember driving 5-6 hours on the weekends, which sounds crazy to me now, but I remember driving 5-6 hours, when I lived in DC to go to New York to visit my friends. It was no big deal to me. I was like, oh, of course, oh, you having a baby shower? Great. I'll be there. It mattered to me that I was showing up for them. It mattered to me that I was being present. The beauty of that military life and having gone through that experience is that we always knew to never take each other for granted. And for obvious reasons, we served and we knew that there was always a chance that we wouldn't see each other again. And so when that time came, when the opportunity came for us to see each other, there was never any question. I've been in this mode where I've been reconnecting with people I don't get to see often. Some of them I hadn't seen in maybe 10 plus years. And it does make me appreciate those moments. And sometimes those great relationships don't survive because people are constantly together. They survive because both people continue choosing and showing up for each other. And that is the way that they show each other that they care, that they matter. Because let's be honest, sometimes distance can be extremely hard. And sometimes you miss the birthdays, everyday dinners, or times that people hang out together. Like you miss the hugs. You miss little moments that no amount of FaceTime, no calls can fully replace. And it's totally okay to grieve that. Missing someone doesn't mean that the relationship is suffering. Sometimes it means that the relationship matters to you. We can't sit around and pretend that it should be easy or that it's always going to be easy. The goal is remembering that love for your friend, for your partner, requires intention and consistency in order for it to survive. And perhaps that's what healthy, long-distance relationships are. Living separate lives, but sharing the same sky, the same moon, the same sun, the stars. Because that means that we're still technically living under the same roof with a ridiculously high ceiling. So, if someone you love is far away today, send them a message, schedule a call, text them, write them a letter, send a pigeon, whatever. Share that silly story. Celebrate the ordinary update. The goal is choosing over and over again to let someone know that no matter where life takes us, there's still a place for you in my world. All right. Thank you for spending time with me today. If today's episode reminded you of someone that you haven't spoken to in a while, maybe this is your sign to reach out and reconnect. Show them that you care. Sometimes the most meaningful message is simply just to say, hey, hey, I was thinking about you. What's been on your mind lately? Tell me something new. All right. So get to work. Chop, chop. All right. Until next time, don't forget to share this episode with someone, subscribe, and keep nurturing the people who make your world feel a little softer, a little warmer, and infinitely more beautiful. All right, now, take care. Until next time. Bye.